Greetings and peace. What's up? This is Queen Sarita from naturallyhighlife.com, Naturally High Life Coaching. I'm here to talk to you about Mercury retrograde and really why it's not affecting certain people in their life anymore. Just to tell you a little background story real quick, and this will be a very short to this point recording. There is something called universal law out here, and some of us out in the world call themselves witches, wizards, starseeds, magicians, what have you. Those titles a lot of times encompass knowing something that is often hidden, or everybody doesn't know it via the masses. The masses don't typically know about certain things that have to do with the occult, the hidden, the mystical. And these are things that I've been into since I was young. And I have been growing and learning and remembering actually my powers as a divine being, as you as a starseed are as well. So I sit over here and I want to tell you why Mercury retrograde really doesn't have the same merit it used to in my life and in many other people's lives. And that very thing is, first of all, I'm going to tell you about what Mercury retrograde is known to be. Let's talk about that, and then I'll talk about why it's not what it is in my life anymore, what it used to be. So historically, when you hear about a Mercury retrograde, it's a time when the planet Mercury that is in the sky, it is in outer space with the other planets. It's the planet of communication and technology and travel and things like that. And Mercury retrograde is something that people tend to get fearful and scary and anxious about when it's coming around. And a Mercury retrograde cycle tends to be about a 3-week period of time, 3 to 4 times a year, typically more so 3 times. And a Mercury retrograde means Mercury, the planet, is actually seeming to go backwards in the sky. In its very placement, it just traces and goes backwards, but it actually doesn't. But the effect it gives, it seems to be going backwards, and all the planets have a retrograde period where they appear to give the effects that are almost opposite of what they give when they're going direct or straight forward in their, in their orbit that they go in. And so this thing called Mercury retrograde has been a big deal over the years. Even for people that aren't even into astrology, it has gotten to be a big deal. It's like a big soap opera that people talk about, because when you have a Mercury retrograde period that happens, like 4 times a year to 3, so mostly 3, like I said. And what it appears to do also, the planet appears to slow down in the sky, and it really does stop moving as fast in its orbit as it usually does. Mercury is known to be like the fastest one that moves as far as the planets. So you know how fast communication is and all that. Mercury rules that. Technology, you know how fast that is. Mercury rules that. You know how fast travel happens. Well, Mercury rules that also. But imagine for a minute that something that moves as fast as Mercury does and rules these certain keynotes and areas of life, it's first speeded up and it's fast and it leads all the other planets, but then it's the planet that opens the way a lot of times. It's the planet that is you work with the planet Mercury to open the way before working with the other planets, because it is like the guardian, or the one that's going to talk to the other planets, if you will. It's the young one of the planets, like the teenager of the planets. Much respect to the planet Mercury right now, but I just got to put this info out because I've been guided to do it from my guides, and I cannot hold it back any longer. So when this planet goes to slow down, and what it does is at first it'll go station, which is where it kind of stops. And then it'll start so-called moving backward, which it's not, but that's what it appears to be doing, because it gives that backwards effect and slowed down effect. And what it does, it's pretty much like an illusion, because everything on this planet is an illusion anyway. If you're a starseed, you're learning that, seeing that, you're understanding that. And we all are. So when there's a forward motion, everything is speeded up, like I said. It's like fast, super fast. And then once it starts to slow down or fall back or recede, then it people can tell the difference because Mercury, the communication and everything seems to get mixed and jumbled up and all that kind of stuff, right? Mercury retrograde starts tomorrow for 3 weeks. And normally I'd be like, oh my God, what's going to happen with the audio or whatever. But I am going to tell you why these things are not the same significance, or it's nothing that I worry about anymore. I may celebrate, in fact. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. The planet Mercury, it seems to play with people, if you will. And the funny thing about it is, like I said, it's going to be a 3-week period of time. I'll put out another video because every day I'm putting out content for you all to let you know what's going on in my life. So here we go. I'll put the dates out tomorrow, let you know how long it does last if you haven't seen it. But that's not even what I want to put this video out for. I just want to let you know that you can get around this. And, Mercury, like I said, it's known to be the messenger of the planets. So it's like when you're dealing with the mail system, you're dialoguing with other people, communications, understandings between people, things at work. People find that computers may go bad. They may have a computer that doesn't work anymore. They may find that electronics, when they go out and buy them, if they buy them during Mercury retrograde or too close to the beginning or the end of it, that those electronics will cease to work or they'll start stalling or whatever, right? But we're divine beings. So if we're divine beings, the planets are not our gods. They aren't over us in the way that we have been taught that they are a lot of times. And we have more power than we know we have. So I'm going to talk to you about that. It's a time also, Mercury, I'm going to tell you, it's such a good time to write and to reread, to edit, to go back and do things that you didn't get to complete from your past. It is a good time to do that. But you could use any time of the year to do that if you wanted to. But a lot of people use this time for that understand metaphysics and understand the energy of the planet Mercury, because they're just riding the energy. There's a planetary energy that's always more dominant than another at different times. And you can choose any of them and ride that wave. So the other thing that happens is people will be told, hold up, don't make all these plans. If you make plans, make sure you have a backup plan and a backup plan. If you go to the airport, make sure you got a backup plan because you might be delayed. Something might happen with your flight, blah, 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 all kinds of stuff. You're talking to someone and they may not understand what you're saying. You may be talking gibberish. Then that leads to going back and forth, a longer, lengthy conversation or argument between two people, disagreements, mistaking what people say, overthinking things, not taking action. And during Mercury retrograde, it's said that you don't really want to take a lot of action. It's said before, I've even said it on my own videos before, or, in different readings in other years, before years, prior years to now. During the Mercury retrograde, be patient with yourself and take your time and all that. And so for certain people, they're going to feel this sort of trend, this energy. However, you're also being told during Mercury retrograde to err on the side of caution. And you may miss calls. You may, not hear from certain jobs that you're wanting to get. Just a lot of delays. And things that you want to move forward in, they just don't seem to work. They seem to go on pause until the end of Mercury retrograde. I've seen it myself. But I don't see it happen like that anymore in my life anymore. And there's other people that I kind of look at and kind of follow what they're doing, and they talk about some of these things that they don't have to deal with this no more. So let me tell you about the wisdom here. A lot of people will be out there getting a whole bunch of cups of coffee, hoping they can speed things up, getting frustrated by things moving as, seeming slow. Electronics pausing, stalling. You got to have, patience out here. And as a starseed, we're all learning how to be patient, because on the earthly plane, things seem to move a little slow, but there's ways to speed things up. All is happening via the way we think in our mind. And that is the key. All is mind is one of the universal laws. So I have learned over the years that you don't have to err on the side of caution when it comes to Mercury retrograde. But until you understand how to utilize certain universal laws that are here for anybody to use, then yes, you do. Because you'll be subject to whatever you think you're subject to. Whatever you put in your mind as a belief that is happening. And I'm not on top of this in all areas of my life, don't get me wrong. But in certain areas, I can see how if you change your mindset, then you can get a different result. And it's amazing how fast it happens. So this Mercury retrograde, like I said, I would typically use this time to write, journal, do a lot of reflecting, communicating. It's like the time is right, you know, for some people to put out a lot of content. Some people wait till Mercury retrograde to put out a gang of content. I may be one of those people, I don't know. But I think I was born with Mercury retrograde. So just knowing that, I said, some people are born during retro. I have a bunch of retrograde planets in my astrology chart, but I just have to get past that. I cannot live my life in fear that, you know, something's going to happen if I don't take action during this period of time. We don't really have any time to waste, honestly, because anytime we could transition over, you know what I'm saying, and not be here anymore the way that we are now. So during the Mercury retrograde, it's also said not to sign contracts and partnerships and alliances. Like, don't do that right now because you may regret what you do. Do not make final decisions because you may reflect back. You may reflect back and decide, you know what, I made a hasty decision. You may make decisions too fast. So if you haven't figured out how to utilize certain laws to get around this Mercury retrograde energy, then hey, it's something to look at. And it's nothing to be ashamed of because I played with this energy for a minute before I learned and studied how to get around these things, okay? Various limitations in the world don't have to be limitations, or we can actually benefit during a seeming challenge. The law of I can't even tell you what it is right now. It's called when you change something and make it work in your favor. Okay? And I'm going to tell you about that. So here we go. You have to repeat yourself a lot of times during the certain Mercury retrogrades. People deal with that. You have to keep telling people the same stuff if you're in sales. Somebody didn't read the fine print. The details matter. Look at the fine print yourself and remind others too. Because people will send out emails to the wrong people sometimes during Mercury retrograde. They will type something up and then send it to somebody they didn't mean to, or write the wrong thing. Regret what they said because they're talking so fast. They didn't think things through. So it's a good time to meditate and reflect. And it is a good time to slow down, but any time is good to do that. So in relationships and things like that, sometimes you will learn heavy lessons during Mercury retrograde because it'll cause you to slow down and really consider what people have done, who they are in your life. I'll be back with part 2.